A sergeant was dying, but his German Shepherd K9 did something unexpected to save him. Welcome back to Stories TRUEWAY. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And let's dive right into the story. The icy wind howled through the desolate alleyways of downtown Chicago, carrying with it the echoes of distant sirens and the weight of danger hanging in the air. Sergeant Logan Carter moved with practiced precision, his pulse steady despite the tension crackling around him. Beside him, his loyal K9 partner, Titan, padded silently, every muscle coiled, every sense sharpened. His sharp amber eyes scanned the darkness, alert for any sign of movement. This was supposed to be a standard drug bust, a takedown mission targeting one of the city's most notorious gangs. But deep down, Logan felt it. Something wasn't right. The shadows seemed darker tonight, the silence too heavy. Even Titan sensed it. His ears twitched, his body stiffened, and a low, rumbling growl escaped his throat. "Unit 4, do you have eyes on the target?" crackled the voice on Logan's radio. Logan pressed the button on his shoulder. "Negative. Moving in." But before he could take another step, Titan growled again, a deep, guttural warning that made Logan pause. Then, it happened. A gunshot ripped through the night, shattering the eerie stillness. Logan felt the impact before he heard the sound. A burning, searing pain tearing through his chest. Stumbling backward, he clutched his side, his vision blurring as the world tilted dangerously around him. His bulletproof vest had absorbed part of the shot, but the bullet had found a weak spot just below his ribs. Blood soaked his uniform as he collapsed against the cold, unforgiving pavement. Titan barked furiously, his deep, thunderous barks echoing down the alley like a battle cry. He stood over Logan, his body tense, his eyes blazing with fury as he dared anyone to come closer. But there was no backup, no help in sight. Logan's breaths came in ragged gasps, his hands trembling as he tried and failed to steady his weapon. The radio crackled again. "Carter, report. Carter, do you copy?" But Logan couldn't answer. His strength was slipping away, his body growing colder with each agonizing second. The alley stretched into darkness around him, and for the first time in his career, Logan knew he was out of time. Titan knew it too. He could sense the life draining from his handler, could smell the blood pooling beneath him. With a final, desperate whimper, Titan leaned down and nudged Logan's hand as if to say, "Hold on, don't give up." But he also knew that staying wasn't enough. If Logan was going to survive, Titan had to act, and he had to act now. With one last glance at his fallen partner, Titan made his decision. Without hesitation, the powerful German Shepherd bolted into the night, his paws pounding against the pavement like thunder, his breath coming in sharp, determined bursts. His mission was clear: find help, and find it fast or lose Logan forever. The frigid night air cut through the city streets like a blade, but Titan didn't feel the cold. He didn't feel anything except the pounding of his heart and the desperate urgency surging through his powerful frame. His handler was dying, and he was the only one who could save him. With a final glance at Logan's pale, motionless form, Titan sprang into action, his powerful legs propelling him forward like a shadow streaking through the darkness. His paws slammed against the pavement in a relentless rhythm, his ears pinned back against his skull, his breath escaping in sharp bursts of steam against the night air. There was no hesitation, no second-guessing, only instinct, only the burning need to find help before it was too late. The city loomed around him, towering buildings casting long, jagged shadows across the alleys, garbage bins, broken glass, and deep puddles littered the path ahead. But Titan didn't slow down. He leaped, dodged, and wove through the obstacles with razor-sharp precision. He had trained for this moment his entire life, only this wasn't training. This was real, and if he failed, Logan would die alone in that alley. Then, a scent hit him, familiar, strong, close. Officer Daniel Briggs. Titan didn't waste a second. He pivoted sharply, claws scraping against the wet pavement as he locked onto the scent and sprinted toward it with renewed speed. His lungs burned. His muscles screamed. But he pushed harder. He had no time for pain. No time for fatigue. Only time for Logan. Up ahead, Briggs had just stepped out of his patrol car, his radio in hand as he checked in with dispatch. The quiet of the city at this late hour was routine, until a blur of fur and muscle exploded out of the darkness. Titan. The German shepherd hit Briggs like a freight train, his teeth clamping onto the officer's sleeve, yanking with force. "Whoa, Titan? What the hell?" Titan growled, his deep, urgent bark splitting the night. His eyes burned with something beyond desperation. A message. Command. An undeniable plea. Briggs had worked with Logan and Titan for years. He knew Titan was trained, disciplined. He didn't react without reason. And this was something different. Something bad. His gut twisted. "Where's Logan?" Titan yanked hard, nearly dragging Briggs forward. There was no time for hesitation. Briggs' training kicked in. He reached for his radio as he ran. "Officer down. I repeat, officer down. Titan just found me. And we need paramedics now." The response came instantly. "Copy that. Unit 5. What's your location?" "Somewhere west of Main and 14th. Titan's leading me." Titan took off again, and Briggs sprinted behind him, struggling to keep up with the sheer power and speed of the K9's desperate race. They cut through alleyways, darted across empty streets, wove between parked cars. The cold wind howled past, sirens now screaming in the distance. Titan didn't slow, didn't falter, didn't look back. Logan was waiting, and Titan would not let him down. The alley was deathly silent, the kind of silence that felt suffocating, heavy with the weight of something slipping away. Logan Carter lay motionless on the cold pavement, his breath coming in weak, uneven gasps, the metallic scent of blood mixed with the damp air. And each second that passed felt like an eternity. His fingers twitched, barely grasping at the darkness around him. His strength was fading. But then a sound. Footsteps. Fast. Urgent. A blur of fur and muscle burst into the alleyway like a missile. Titan was back. And he wasn't alone. Behind him, Officer Daniel Briggs sprinted into view, his eyes immediately locking onto the crumpled figure of Logan. His stomach clenched. "Jesus Christ!" Briggs dropped to his knees beside Logan, his hands instantly pressing down on the wound below his ribs. The warmth of fresh blood seeped through his gloves. Sticky and unrelenting, Logan let out a weak groan, his eyelids fluttering as his body fought to stay conscious. "Stay with me, Carter," Briggs shouted, shaking him slightly. "Help's coming. Just hold on." Titan circled them, his nails scraping against the pavement, his body tense. "Ready." He whined low in his throat, nudging Logan's pale cheek with his nose, urging him to stay awake. But Logan's eyes were unfocused, his lips barely parting as he forced out a whisper. "Did he make it?" Briggs swallowed hard, his throat tight. He glanced at Titan, the K9 standing like an immovable sentinel over his fallen partner. "Yeah, Logan." His voice was hoarse. "He made it. He brought me straight to you." Titan let out a low, broken whine, licking Logan's face. His body pressed close as if his sheer presence could hold Logan together. But suddenly, a noise from the shadows. Titan's entire demeanor changed in an instant. His ears shot up, his muscles coiled, and a deep, primal growl rumbled from his chest. His eyes locked onto the darkness beyond the alley, his hackles rising like a wolf preparing for battle. Briggs froze, his fingers still pressed against Logan's wound. His own hand went for his gun. Footsteps. Slow. Calculated. Someone was coming. Briggs' pulse hammered in his ears. Had the gang come back to finish the job? Titan stepped forward, his body rigid as steel, his growl low and threatening, daring whatever lurked in the shadows to come closer. His sharp teeth flashed in the dim alley light, and his claws scraped against the pavement, ready to lunge. Then a voice. CPD. Lower your weapons. It's us. Briggs exhaled sharply, his hands shaking with adrenaline as police officers flooded into the alley, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. Titan stiffened for only a second before recognizing them, his tail lowering but his stance still firm. He refused to leave Logan's side. The paramedics rushed in, moving fast. Hands reached for Logan, pressing gauze against the wound, lifting him onto a stretcher. Logan barely reacted. Briggs stepped back, giving them room, his chest still heaving from the run, from the fear. He's lost a lot of blood, Briggs told them, his voice strained. Bullet wound, lower left side. One of the medics nodded. We'll stabilize him. Titan whined loudly as Logan was lifted, his front paws scrambling to get closer, his body desperate to follow. Easy, boy, Briggs murmured, placing a firm hand on Titan's back. He's going to be okay. Titan didn't move. His eyes locked onto Logan as the paramedics worked swiftly, and 4 was inserted, pressure bandage secured, and then the ambulance doors slammed shut. Titan let out a long, heartbroken whine as the sirens wailed, the vehicle disappearing into the night. Briggs knelt beside the K9, running a hand over his thick fur. His own pulse was finally slowing, but Titan's body was still tense, still ready to fight if he had to. You did good, boy, Briggs murmured. Better than good. Titan barely blinked, his chest rising and falling with slow, controlled breaths, but his eyes never left the road, because Logan was still out there, and Titan wasn't leaving his side. Not now, not ever. The fluorescent lights of the emergency room buzzed faintly, casting a sterile glow over the white-tiled floors. The air was thick with the scent of antiseptic and the muffled hum of hurried voices. Titan paced restlessly, his nails clicking against the cold floor, his eyes never leaving the double doors where Logan had disappeared. Hours had passed, but to Titan, felt like an eternity. He didn't understand. Every time Logan had gone somewhere, Titan had followed. Every mission, every patrol, every dangerous encounter, they had faced it together. But now, those cold metal doors had swallowed Logan whole, and Titan had been forced to stay behind. It wasn't right. Officer Daniel Briggs sat nearby, leaning against a plastic chair, exhaustion lining his face. He had been watching Titan since they arrived, witnessing the raw, unshakable devotion in the dog's every move. Titan had refused food, refused water. He hadn't even blinked at the nurses who had tried to lead him away. Nothing mattered. Only Logan. Every time a doctor or nurse walked past, Titan's head snapped up, his ears perking, his eyes filled with desperate hope. But none of them brought Logan back. Briggs sighed, rubbing his temples. You're not gonna budge, are you? He muttered. Titan's only response was a low whine as he pressed his nose against the floor, inhaling the lingering scent of his handler, the scent of blood, fear, pain. Then the doors swung open. A doctor approached, pulling down his surgical mask. Sergeant Carter is out of surgery. Briggs shot to his feet. Titan, already standing, let out a sharp bark, his tail stiff, his body tense. The doctor continued. The bullet did significant damage, but he's stable. He's being moved to the ICU. Briggs exhaled a breath he didn't realize he had been holding. Can we see him? The doctor hesitated, his gaze flickering to Titan. The dog. Briggs' expression hardened. Titan stays. He's Logan's partner. He's not leaving. The doctor sighed, then gave a small nod. All right, but keep him calm. Titan didn't wait for permission. The moment the door cracked open, he bolted down the hallway, nose to the air, following Logan's scent like a lifeline. Nurses gasped, stepping aside as the massive K9 streaked past them like a bullet, weaving through the sterile corridors with laser focus. At the end of the hall, he found the room. Inside, Logan lay motionless, his body hooked to machines, an oxygen mask covering his face. The slow, Rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor was the only sound breaking the silence. His skin was pale, his breathing shallow. Titan stopped at the threshold, his ears flicking back. For the first time since the shooting, he hesitated. His handler, the man who had always stood strong, always led the way, always commanded every situation, was now fragile, unmoving. The image didn't make sense to Titan. With careful steps, he approached the bed, placing his massive paws on the edge, his nose hovering over Logan's limp hand. Titan inhaled deeply. It was still him, his Logan. A soft, low whine escaped Titan's throat as he gently nudged Logan's fingers with his nose. No response. Briggs stepped inside, his voice quiet. "He's gonna make it, buddy. But he needs time." Titan didn't move. He just laid his head on Logan's arm, his warm breath fanning over the skin. His eyes locked onto Logan's face, watching, waiting, refusing to leave. The minutes stretched into hours. Nurses came in to check the machines, adjust the monitor his vitals. Titan never flinched, never moved away. Every shift in Logan's breathing, every flicker of movement, Titan noticed. At one point, a nurse gently tried to guide him back, coaxing him toward the door. Titan growled, not aggressively, just a warning, a message. "I'm not leaving him." Briggs chuckled softly from the corner of the room, shaking his head. "Yeah, I wouldn't try that again if I were you." Titan's eyes never left Logan, and as the night stretched on, he made a silent promise. "I saved you once, and if I have to, I'll do it again. I'm not going anywhere." The sterile hum of hospital machines filled the dimly lit room, a steady rhythm that mirrored the slow but persistent fight happening inside Logan Carter's body. Every breath he took was a battle, every small movement a reminder of just how close he had come to losing everything. But he was alive, and Titan never let him forget it. The K9 never left his side, his powerful body curled up beside the hospital bed, his sharp eyes locked onto Logan like a silent guardian. If Logan so much as twitched in his sleep, Titan was there, alert, watching, waiting. It had been 3 days since Logan had woken up. 3 days of pain, frustration, and an endless stream of doctors telling him to rest, to take it slow, to let his body heal. But Logan wasn't built for waiting. He wanted to move. He needed to get back. Briggs sat in the corner, sipping a cup of lukewarm hospital coffee, watching Logan with a knowing smirk. "You look like hell." Logan smirked back, though the motion sent a dull ache through his ribs. "Feel worse." Briggs leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "The precinct's been buzzing about you. Everyone's calling Titan a hero. The mayor's even talking about giving him a medal." Logan glanced down at Titan, who didn't even flick an ear at the mention of awards. He just kept staring at Logan, watching, waiting, as if still making sure his handler was really here. Logan ran a tired hand through the thick fur at Titan's neck. "He doesn't care about medals." His voice was quiet. "He just cares that I'm still breathing." Briggs nodded. "Yeah, we all do." The weight of those words settled in the room. Briggs had seen it, the blood, the way Logan's life had almost slipped away in that dark alley. Logan clenched his jaw. "I should have seen it coming." Briggs sighed. "Logan." "I let my guard down." Logan continued, his voice sharp. "Titan knew something was off. He tried to warn me, and I ignored it." Titan lifted his head at the sound of Logan's voice. His brown eyes filled with something deeper than loyalty, understanding. Briggs shook his head. "You can't do this to yourself. You're one of the best, Logan. And Titan, he got to me in time. You're here because of him." Logan exhaled slowly, pressing a hand against Titan's warm fur. The K9 leaned into the touch, a silent reassurance, a silent promise. Briggs smirked. "Besides, I think Titan just earned Officer of the Year." Logan let out a small, rough laugh. "Damn right, he did." Titan's tail gave the slightest wag, but his eyes never wavered from Logan, as if he knew Logan still wasn't done fighting. The next morning, Logan swung his legs over the side of the hospital bed, testing his strength. His muscles protested. His ribs ached, but he gritted his teeth and forced himself upright. Titan was beside him in an instant. His body pressed against Logan's leg. Steady. Ready. Briggs stood at the doorway, arms crossed. "You sure you want to do this?" Logan exhaled. "I have to." With a deep breath, he pressed his feet to the cold tile floor and stood. Pain shot through his side. His balance wavered for a second, but then Titan leaned into him, strong and unmoving, keeping him steady. Logan gripped Titan's thick fur, grounding himself. They moved together, step by step, just like always. Briggs shook his head with a grin. "You two are something else." Logan smirked. "Yeah, well, he's stubborn." Titan let out a small huff, as if agreeing. The first few steps were slow. Every shift in movement sent a dull ache through Logan's body. But Titan was there, matching his pace, supporting him without hesitation. This wasn't just about walking. It was about reclaiming control, about proving that he was still the same cop, the same handler, the same fighter. And as they reached the hospital doors, Logan felt the crisp morning air hit his skin for the first time since that night. Briggs glanced at him. "You ready?" Logan placed a hand on Titan's head, feeling the steady rise and fall of his breathing, the strength in his stance. "Yeah," Logan said. "Let's do this." Titan wagged his tail once, his answer clear, because soon they would be back where they belonged, together. The precinct was alive with energy, the steady hum of police chatter, the ringing of phones, the rhythmic clatter of boots against the tiled floors. But as soon as Logan Carter stepped through the front doors, everything seemed to pause for just a moment. Then, a wave of applause erupted. Officers clapped. Some whistled. Others simply nodded with respect. Logan wasn't just another cop returning to duty. He was the man who had nearly died in the line of service and fought his way back. And beside him, standing tall, was Titan. The K9 moved with purpose, his eyes sharp, his body tense with controlled power. His ears twitched at the noise, but his focus never wavered. He wasn't here for praise. He was here for one reason: to make sure Logan was ready. Briggs leaned against a desk, arms crossed, grinning. "Damn, Carter. Didn't think we'd ever get rid of you." Logan smirked. "You should have known better." "You good?" Briggs asked, his gaze flicking to Titan, who stood like an unshakable pillar at Logan's side. Logan exhaled, rolling his shoulders. His body still ached. His ribs still pulled at the stitches. But that didn't matter. What mattered was that he was standing, that he was here, that he was ready. He glanced down at Titan, who stared back up at him with those unwavering, intelligent eyes. They both knew what this meant. They were back. Before anyone could say more, the captain's voice boomed through the room. "Carter, my office. Now." Logan exchanged a look with Briggs before turning toward the office, Titan pacing perfectly in sync beside him. Captain Reynolds was a hard man, one of the old-school cops who had seen everything. He had no patience for weakness, no tolerance for excuses. As Logan and Titan entered, Reynolds barely glanced up from the paperwork on his desk. "Shut the door." Logan did. Titan Saturday, his body still, his presence commanding the room without making a sound. The captain finally looked up, his sharp, tired eyes locking onto Logan's. "You ready?" No small talk, no speeches, just the question that mattered. Logan didn't hesitate. "Yes, sir." Reynolds studied him for a long moment. His gaze flicked to Titan. "The department needs officers like you, Carter. But let's get one thing straight: you screw around, try to push yourself too hard before you're ready, and I'll have your ass benched so fast you won't have time to argue." "Got it." Logan's jaw tightened, but he nodded. "Got it." Reynolds leaned back in his chair. "Good, because we've got a situation brewing, and I want you and Titan on it." Logan raised an eyebrow. "I thought you'd have me doing paperwork for a while." Reynolds scoffed. "If I stick you behind a desk, you'll go crazy, and Titan will eat half the precinct out of boredom." Titan let out a soft huff, as if agreeing. Reynolds smirked. "But you don't leave this building until you're cleared by medical." "Understood." Logan nodded. "Understood, sir." The captain sighed, rubbing his temple. Then, almost as an afterthought, he added, "Oh, and Carter, the mayor wants to see you. Apparently, Titan's getting some kind of medal." Briggs, who had just stepped into the office, let out a low whistle. "Look at you, Titan. A celebrity." Titan, as always, didn't react. His only concern was the man beside him. Logan smirked, resting a hand on Titan's head. "Yeah, but to me, he's been a hero from day one." 2 days later, Logan stood in front of his squad car, the crisp morning air filling his lungs. The last time he had been inside this vehicle, he had been bleeding out, fighting for his life. Now, he was back. Titan jumped effortlessly into the passenger seat, settling into his usual spot, his body still, alert, ready. Logan ran a hand along the steering wheel, feeling the grooves beneath his fingers. This was where he belonged. Briggs leaned against the car, watching him carefully. "So, what's the plan?" Logan smirked, his fingers tightening around the wheel. "Let's go to work." Titan let out a sharp bark, his tail wagging once in anticipation, because the city still needed them, and this time, nothing would catch them off guard. As we close this incredible story of loyalty, courage, and unbreakable bonds, we're reminded that true heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes, they walk on 4 legs. Titan's unwavering dedication to Sergeant Logan Carter is a testament to the powerful connection between humans and their K9 partners. If the story moved you, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who loves inspiring stories, and most importantly, subscribe to Stories True Way for more heartfelt, true tales of heroism, survival, and the power of the human-animal bond. Hit the notification bell so you never miss another powerful story. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Oncoming police car paw print sparkles.